Everyone, welcome to Pal to Tech and to the live stream. Today is Friday, July. It's July already, July 7th, and this is Electronic Campfire number 27. Wow. It is so great to see all of you here. Let's check in. Who's here? First of all, Mr. Jarble. Yeah. I have a little mention of you in an upcoming video a very brief mention, almost nothing, but you're in the video a little bit. And it has to do with balancing a gimbal, which I believe was one of the subjects you wanted to learn about. So look for that. I am working on the new video right now. It was supposed to have come out today, but you know, editing, almost 4 terabytes of footage like the last video, I just piles up. So I'm still working on it and I'm hoping to have it done by Sunday. So I'm looking to launch it on Sunday, and it's going to be a different kind of review video where I'm going to go over this bad boy right here, the Weebill 3S gimbal. Is it a good gimbal for Fujifilm? Is it a good gimbal for Fujifilm cameras or not? How do you use it? The bare basics, but most importantly, what are some of the real skills you need to have to take the next step in using a gimbal? So it's like it's like an education piece and it's a review. And so that's being worked on right now. Okay, so who else is here? Mr. Jarble, thank you so much for the super chat. David, man, love you. Thank you. I really appreciate it. And I just love seeing both of you on Backstage. It is great to connect with you. And I know I got to check in a little more. It's been a crazy busy week, and I'm really glad you're here tonight on the stream. It's good to see you both. It's definitely. Who else do we have? I'm going to go back to the main area. Oh, wonderful. Dr. Henninger, Florian, good to see you. Mike from Iowa, awesome. Inscrutable Owl. But of course, great to see you, man. Thank you. This is going to be, I think, a really good show to kick off the weekend, and the subject, really important. What makes a great photographer? Obviously, there's a lot of answers to that one. That is something that is a major unpacking job, okay? And I could do like a 3-part video on that, but actually, when I started thinking about it and stripping it away, I realized that because it's so subjective and everyone has their own opinion, I'm just going to share mine. And then we'll open up, the comments to hear what you think. So we'll get to that in just a moment, but I do want to give you a channel update, okay? So do you remember that I mentioned, I know the Backstage folks know this already, but for the rest of you, that I wanted to do another 8mm lens review, and I just didn't feel right about Fujifilm sending me that lens again because, the first time they sent it, I only had it for a couple of days. And then, of course, I lost the footage. Then I found the footage, But since then, Fujifilm North America sent me a big box, okay? A big box. And it contained 4 items. I'm going to show you those right now, and then we'll go through the issue with the big box, okay? So, item number 1 is the 8mm lens. It is here. It is back in the studio with a little test sticker. By the way, these are all loaner items. They have to go back to Fujifilm. I don't get to keep them. In fact, my credit card is on file with Fujifilm. So, if I break stuff, okay, if I break anything, they're just going to charge me. So the 8mm lens, I definitely want to revisit that. So that's item number 1. Let's look at the next item. And I'm really excited about this one. Check it out. Have a look at this. The XS20. I know, I made a video on this camera already. If you haven't seen it, check it out. But the one thing I couldn't do was compare autofocus, right, with this camera, with the new, all the subject detection stuff, with the XT5, with the firmware update on the XT5, with this one. And so I made a video just testing the XT5 out with the firmware, but I didn't do, head-to-head battle. I kind of want to do that with this camera. So yeah, that is on the list for sure. This is a mid-unboxing water break. Okay, next item. Ta-da! Okay, I haven't even opened it yet, but check it out. So we got the 70-300. Interestingly, I have never used this lens. In fact, I've never held one. In fact, let's just open it right now. What the heck, right? All right, so we got This is also a demo test. Other people have used it. Probably other, yeah, you can just tell. It's not new, right, from the factory. So here it is right here. Check it out. Woo, I like this one. Plastic lens hood. All right. There's the lens cap. Get this bad boy on here. Oh, I like it. I like it a lot. Look at that. So we got 300 to 70, 70 to, whoa! This is what you call a telescopic lens. So this one is really cool, and I definitely want to test it out. And the only thing, obviously, and I'm looking at it right now, it doesn't have OIS, so definitely let's check it on IBIS and see how it performs, if I can get around to it. No promises because, and I'll get to that in just a second, but that's on the list. That's item number 3, okay? We got one more. One more. Thus the reason for the bigger box. Okay. This bad boy right here. Okay. You are looking, ladies and gentlemen, at the 150 to 600, let's just call it a big zoom. The big zoom. The really big zoom, okay? And yeah, I had this lens sent to me from Fuji, it must have been about 6 months ago, and I only had it for a couple of days, and all I could shoot with it really was the moon. So I'm looking forward to actually shooting birds, wildlife, and really, testing out the optics, testing out the handling. And so I'd like to make some kind of a video on this. Do any of you own this thing? I mean, this is really in fact, it makes me nervous just holding this thing. But man, this is awesome. So I'm really excited to test this one out. So those were the 4 items that Fuji sent me. You know what I should have done? Oh, I just thought of this. For this live stream, I wish I had done this. I should have gotten one of those sound effects of like glass breaking, metal clanking onto the floor. And I could easily have my finger right here on the playback button so I could play the sound effect and just go something like this. Well, anyway, this was the 4th lens that I got from, do something like that. Give a couple people a heart attack out there. So, all right, well, let's go back wide. Here's what happened with all this. They sent me this big box of lenses and cameras about 2 weeks ago. And it got lost in shipping, okay? It went to Wisconsin and then maybe Mombasa, and then it wrapped around to Kansas City, went down to Florida for a while, went up to Austria. I don't know where it went, but it didn't come here. And so at that time, my contact at Fuji went away on vacation, right, for a few days. So I was unable to kind of get some resolution. So nothing came. 2 weeks go by. And finally, when he got back, I said, just letting you know, nothing's arrived. So please don't charge anything to the credit card because I never even got the lenses or anything. And they looked into it and they were like, oh my goodness, it's screwed up. Oh no, what to do? So they sent it next day air. This is Fuji now. Really awesome thing they did. They sent it FedEx overnight. That couldn't have been cheap, but they sent it to me. The problem is when you get loaner lenses from any camera company, but with Fujifilm for sure, you have to put a date that you're going to return it. And it goes into the big computer system they have in the sky. And the date I'm supposed to return those 4 items, right, is today. So I wrote to Fuji and I was like, trying to be nice. I was like, the stuff arrived a little late. Would it be possible to have an extension? And if not for all of them, maybe just for the XS20 or the big lens. That's what I'm calling it, the big lens. And they got back to me and said, you can have it until July 20th. So yes, it was like somebody went, released pressure because I was thinking to myself, how on earth, am I going to possibly do anything in a day? Not even a day. And I thought maybe I could push off shipping until Monday and tell them, I don't know, I dropped it off Friday, but now I don't have to worry about that. So that's on the schedule for the channel. Not that I don't already have enough videos in production. I do. It is quite insane around here. And I'm finding that it is taking me longer to make videos. I don't know why, but I think it has to do with editing, and I'm just adding more stuff into editing. So as I told my backstage folks, I'm dialing that back. So I'm not going to be as professional. They may not look as slick and polished, but I'm going to get them done faster. And even if I don't get them done faster, I'm going to have more time for things like sleep. So it's all good. We've got a plan moving forward. That's the channel update. And now we're going to move on to the next subject. But before we do, I want to check in here. Oh, wow. We got lots of questions on these lenses. Okay, so I'm going to do a Q&A toward the end. And that way I can focus on that, because what I want to talk about now, I think, is the most important subject I've ever done on live stream, and probably one of the more important subjects I'll ever do for the channel. So it's a big one. So let me just kind of got to get figured out here. Yes, Mr. Jarble, done over perfect. You are correct. Absolutely, 100%. And hey, Natalie, good to see you. Good to see you. Oh, we got so many people. Tom from Minnesota. How you doing? How you doing? We've got the Ginginator. Are you awesome? The one you've got, the 150 to 600. Very cool. Very, very cool. Yeah, it's quite a beast. So yeah, and that's true, Eugene. I did pause because sometimes I forget. I mean, I'll be honest with you. Some of these cameras kind of all look the same to me after a while, especially when I'm really tired and I'm editing. And sometimes I'll be like, oh, I need a screenshot from an X-T5. And then I'll grab, an X-T2. And I just don't, they all kind of blur into this kind of black boxy looking thing with a circle in it, so, but yeah, had no idea there. Okay. So, whoa. We've got Suman. Suman, please tell me I pronounced it right. From Nepal. Namaste. I love Nepal. I've been to Kathmandu, Langtang, all around. We were going to go to Lukla, but the plane that was supposed to take us crashed the day before. So, long time ago, this is 1994, I think, or 93. But yeah, Nepal is awesome. Welcome, welcome. Great to have you here. Love all the international visitors. I really do. Okay, so let's get to the subject at hand, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to show you now a series of 3 photos. They are straight out of the camera JPEGs. And I need your participation on this. Okay? They're straight out of the camera JPEGs. No editing, color balancing, fixing shadows. Okay, so keep that in mind. Don't be looking for those kinds of problems because obviously and there's raw files for all of them. I want to show you the JPEGs though. And I purposely wanted to show you these particular photos because I want you, dear viewers, to tell me what you think rough best guess, the skill level is of the photographer that took these photos, okay? It definitely wasn't me, okay? I'm just telling you that right now. But it was someone that I'm curious if you can tell me, are they, and let's just kind of make it simple, are they a beginning photographer? And by that, I mean someone that is interested in taking pictures, knows where the shutter release button is, and can, focus. Beginner, intermediate, right? Someone that knows the whole exposure triangle thing and, all that editing stuff. And advanced, like a Sean Tucker. Okay. So keep it within those categories just so I can quickly scan it and see which one won. Let's start with photo number 1. Okay. All right. Hope I can do this right. Here we go. You ready? Here it is. This is the first photo. Okay. And we have a car kind of through a window. That's number 1. Keep your eye on it. Take a look at it. Take a look at composition. Take a look at maybe lighting, framing, that kind of thing. All right. That's the first one. Okay. The second one is right here. And have a look at that one right there. Okay. And the third one is right here. Okay. Again, straight out of camera JPEGs. No editing, nothing. We're not looking at the fancy add-ons, the parsley on the meal. We're looking at framing and composition. Well, I'm going to do it one more time, and then I want you to cast your vote. Okay, here we go. First one. Boom. All right. Second one. Boom. And third one. Boom. Okay. So I'm going to give you just a minute to get those votes in. All right. And be honest, be honest what you think, because you're not going to forget today's episode. I guarantee you that, particularly some of you, and I'll get to that in a minute. Silence, just silence. Isn't that weird on a live stream? Just silence. Let's do it. Okay, I'm now going to be scrolling back. We've got interesting. Oh, you've actually broken them down into 1, 2, and 3. That's very cool. Now, the same photographer took all 3 photos. Okay, and interestingly, yeah. So some are intermediate, some are beginner. It looks like, from what I can see, I mean, if I had to just kind of take a stab at this, that it's a mix, man. It's a mix. I'm seeing just as many pros as beginners in here, okay? Maybe, I mean, if I had to pick, I don't know. What do you think? You can scroll back in these comments, but, I mean, there's definitely a lot of pros / advanced, okay? And there's a bunch of intermediate, okay? And yeah, and beginners. So really, there's not a general consensus here. That I think we all can agree on. All right. Now, I'm going to reveal the photographer, and then I'm going to tell you how these pictures were shot. And then we're going to talk about what makes a great photographer. So you ready? Drum roll. Do I have that audio for? I don't have audio for drum roll. I need an assistant. Okay. No audio for drum roll, but that's okay. Here we go. The photographer who took all 3 of these photos is my son, who picked up a camera, literally an X-T5 for the first time, never shot with it before. And the only time that he had ever taken photos, other than, you know, hey, can you get a photo of us? That kind of stuff. He had used a Sony ZV-1, Sony, and he just kind of took some photos of Halloween stuff, but he really hadn't used it. Certainly never a full-blown mirrorless camera with detachable lenses. And so what I did, I took him to this automotive junkyard place called Car City. Very cool, by the way. Now, I don't have any video on this at all, even though I brought drones. You know me, I brought drones, gimbals, cameras. He didn't want any video. In fact, the only reason you can see him in the photo was because I snuck one of him. So what I did, I gave him an X-T5 and I gave him only a, here it is, 18 to 55 millimeter kit lens. That was it. And I set the camera, okay, on the, basically the automatic, well, it was set, okay, it was set on a shutter speed of 1/250. And it was set automatic ISO and automatic aperture, okay? And then the only thing I showed him, I showed him 3 things, okay? I mean, literally, he knew nothing about the camera, but that doesn't matter, as you're going to see in a minute. I showed him 3 things. If you turn the exposure, hold on. If you turn, I need another camera. If you turn the exposure compensation dial, right, this way, it gets darker. If you turn it this way, it gets brighter. And I showed him in the screen on the back of the X-T5. That was it. I also showed him how to change film simulations, which he immediately wanted to stick in bleach bypass as soon as he figured out that one. And, and then I showed him what happens if you press, and I had the camera in single shot, you know, single autofocus. And I told him, if you half press down the shutter release button, the camera will focus, and I had it on spot focus, you know, the square, boom, it'll turn green. That means it's in focus. And the only thing I told him was, when you're taking your shots, think about everything in the shot, and you can have something in the foreground in focus, you can have something in the background in focus, and the way you can do that is first find what you want, half press down the shutter release button to make sure that that's in focus, and then recompose your scene, and then take the picture, press it all the way down. That was all I told him. That was it. And he had about, I think we did this for about an hour, okay? And I got to tell you, I was pretty surprised at the fact that I don't even know how to put this. So it made me think, because I also took photos while I was there, and I'll show you one of them and in a little bit, but he is inherently better at this than I am. I mean, I can spot it. If I watched any of you how I watched him, and I did watch him shoot, I could tell like that. And so this gets back to, I think, the important fact here, which is, does gear matter? Or are you born with it? Or is it something else that kicks in that you can learn or you can acquire? And I'm going to answer all that. You're going to have it all before we kick off the weekend. So let me do this. The first thing is, I think, what makes a great photographer, okay? Remember, my opinions. I think it is being able to see things from a different perspective. You know, that's really important. I mean, in life it's important, but with photography and filmmaking, I think even with photography more, that is key. That's key. So see things from a different perspective. Let me show you what I mean. So here he is I didn't tell him to crouch down. He didn't know I was taking this photo of him, but look at that. He went down to get a different perspective. You know, that is something I don't see a lot of people do. I went up to the Hollywood sign in Los Angeles, and at the area where I saw photographers there, and some of them literally just stood in the same spot, boom, took the shot, where one or two of them changed their perspective. And I know that sounds obvious, but I didn't tell him to do this. So I think that maybe he saw, because I do it, I try and do it, but maybe he saw me doing it, or maybe he's a subscriber to the channel. I don't know, but he was doing it for sure. And I did not tell him to do it. Okay, so have a different perspective. And for example, this was a crash test dummy, okay, laying in the middle of the freaking forest, all right? Now, there are a lot of ways that you can take this photo, right? Think about how many different ways you can take the photo. And a number of people would be tempted to take a photo showing the whole body. You know what I mean? Head, torso, arms, and legs. He didn't do that. Not only did he not show the whole body, okay, but he actually put it almost like someone is seeing this or witnessing something that maybe they shouldn't be, okay? I mean, think about that. This one right here, you know, you're not seeing all the cars. And listen, I know it's dark. I know the shadow detail isn't great. But look at the behind that. Because remember, a lot of this stuff, and even more as that old little thing called AI comes to editing software, will improve noise, will lift shadows, will fix a lot of highlight problems. So, but it won't be able to get something like this, where there's just something different about it, okay? So then, second thing that I think makes a great photographer is remember you want to frame the scene. You hear that, right? Shoot through a window, frame the scene. But I want to add, I think that makes a great photographer, but I think there's something you can go even more that makes it a really great photographer. All right. So frame the scene, sort of. Now, that means, I mean, this is what the place looked like. All right. And there's lots of ways that you can shoot this car, right? You can shoot it close up. You could go right in through the glass. You see the glass right there on the driver's side, the broken glass. You could frame it in on the door. There's a frame opportunity on the door. I mean, look at all that. Oh, and by the way, this photo was taken with the 8mm lens. Just saying. So there's an 8mm demo shot for you, straight out of camera JPEG. I didn't edit anything. But that is those decisions that you have when you're looking at a broken window where there's stuff behind it. How do you frame it? How do you think differently about it, right? So we'll keep going. So then, all right, if you go, did I show you this one? Yeah. So look at this. That's me, all right? And I'm fiddling with something. I probably broke something and I'm trying to fix it. And I did not tell him to go behind some kind of a fence, stick me in the middle of it, and take that shot. But it makes it more interesting. It adds something to it. So you got to do that too. And I'm talking to the very beginners of you out there. I know a vast majority of you already know this stuff, but a lot of people who watch my videos are literally, he's trying to pick up a camera to make a point, picking up a camera for the first time. All right. So yeah. All right. So the next one, did I show you this one? Hold on. Yeah. Okay. That's the framing one. Now look at this. Not a good shot. I'm not happy with this one. I think this shot sucks. I took it. That was one of the very few I took because I was so mesmerized watching him work that I stopped taking photos. Originally, this was going to be a photo contest that I was going to do on the channel, and I wasn't going to tell you whose photos were what, right? And I was going to say, you know, who's the better one? I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to do that. But I'm really glad I did it this way. And so here, this photo I took, It's dull. Of course, there's going to be something centered through the window. I mean, it's interesting, but how do you go beyond that? That was a good shot, I'll admit, but it's not great. It's not spectacular. Okay. I mean, look at it. It's okay. You know, I mean, I didn't edit it, but I mean, composition wise. So where do you go from there? Well, if you're framing something and you're thinking, where do I put the subject that I'm framing? Don't forget, it's not just about composition. It's about textures and patterns, noticing patterns and textures. Okay. Let me show you what I mean by that. So for example, here, he took this shot. I didn't take it. He took it. Have a look at this. All right. You have a broken window in the middle. You see that? And he could have stood outside the car and gotten that broken window. He also could have focused on that broken window and made that the kind of the center point. No, he focused. Look at that light that's there. And the sort of patterns of, I guess you could say, the mold or the dirt or whatever that is, that and just that became important, and everything else kind of went by the wayside. So that is a way I think you can take it to the next level. You know, you got your framing down, but when you're framing, see if you don't have to frame perfectly. You don't have to have center framing unless you're going for that. Unless you're trying to do some symmetrical thing, then yes, absolutely. But again, when you've got this kind of blows that all up. You've got the camera rotated. You've got a lot of stuff out of focus. You have that one light area that he wanted to kind of emphasize. Okay. Also here, same thing here, textures. So he decided, all right, we're going to focus on the mold and kind of have the car, be that. And that was it, instead of showing much of anything else. All right. So then along with all of the framing comes using shooting angles to lead your audience. Think of the people that see your photos as your audience. Really, it is your audience. You need to lead them. You need to lead them. And so here's a shot that this was his favorite shot. It's not mine, it's his. And he actually, this is the only one that I dropped it in Photoshop and I gave him a few basics, here's the texture slider, and so he post-production edited that photo, right? And that is one of his favorites, if not his favorite. But look at the leading it's doing. You have a police car, and there's lots of ways that you can shoot a police car. Obviously, if you have the car and it says police right here, you can take a picture where, it's just of the car. Or you get butt close to it and you do a leading to something else. And so that's an option for you, is to lead them. What are we leading them to? More junk in the background, Not, and again, it's just, it almost doesn't even look like a car, right? It looks like a wall or something. So again, along with leading your audience, if you're close up enough, you can change what the object is. It's no longer a car, really. It looks like a wall leading somewhere. You've turned a car shot into an interesting wall shot, but it's not really a wall. And that moment of, wait, what is, that moment that your audience has that reaction is when you've taken a great photo, I think. All right, so, all right, we're almost done, but I've got just a few more, if I can find them. Okay. So, did we do this one? Yes, no, wait a minute, lead the viewer. Okay, so the next one is if you're leading, if you're doing leading, you want to lead the viewer elsewhere, all right, as you know, and I think that was done here. So, we're leading, where are we leading the viewer? Where are we leading the viewer? Outside the car. We're taking them right outside the car. And we're not even stopping at that tree. We're going to go to the car in the background. And so lead the viewer, just take them elsewhere within your photo, as if it's its own movie. Take them to that place, to that destination. And then that one too is a leading photo. You're kind of leading them in. And it's interesting because I could come up with, and you could too, many more suggestions. And there's one more I want to give you, and then I want to give you the most important one of all, I think. So the next one, which I think is actually more impactful than the ones I've told you. The ones I've told you are the colors on the paintbrush. The one I'm about to tell you is kind of how you paint, okay? And it is all about story. If you're not telling even the most bare bones basic story, then I think the photos are just then, in some ways, just a frozen moment in time, and that's all they are. But if you can somehow tell a story, and I'm not talking about documentary people that go off on the war zone and are telling stories that way. No, I'm talking about a much harder way to do it, around your apartment, around your house, around your street, with inanimate objects even. Can you tell a story? I smell homework assignment coming up here. Okay, so telling a story, how do we do that? And we do that with this, as I said before. This is a story right here. This has a whole story. We dropped in on like, you're not seeing the whole thing. You don't see it all. Is someone behind the tree? Make up the story. But do you see what I mean? If that crash test dummy black object were taken just there with nothing, no story, it would just be a picture of a crash test dummy. It would be interesting, but again, if you can make a story behind it, and this is a story. This happens to be my favorite photo of the series that he had taken, actually. So let's wrap this up, okay? All of these things are technique that, if some of you are beginners, I want you to watch this live stream back, or if you know someone who's a beginner, send them a link to the live stream, right to the part where I start talking about it. And really think about it as these are techniques in your tool belt. So when you're out I got to be more dramatic. When you're out, hold on a minute. I was going to do a whole demo on this thing, and you know what? I'm not, because this is more important what we're talking about. So no demo today on this. I'm sick of gimbals right now. So when you're out and about shooting, okay, you don't know the story. You don't know what it is that you want to tell. So then you reach into your tool belt of composition, of lighting, and you pull those little things out. So how does gear fit into all this? Does gear make you a better photographer? And no, it makes you, in some cases, better able to tell a story, because you have more options on this thing to kind of hone in and narrow down your vision. But without the story and without the tool belt of, leading lines or focusing in on all the stuff I know gear doesn't matter. But gear does matter a hell of a lot if you can get these other concepts and you're regularly thinking about them. So I do think gear matters, actually, in some respects. Right, Gear Iguana? You're damn right. So here's the most important thing of all. Where does all this lead up to? Right? The top of the pyramid. The bottom of the pyramid is, SD cards, ISO, as you move up, all that stuff. Stuff I teach, all that stuff. But at the top, what's at the top, right? What's at the top? And what is the number one thing that makes a great photographer? Well, in my opinion, and I've thought about this a lot, being sensitive to the world. What do I mean by that? Being sensitive to the world, meaning if you're sensitive just in general, if you really let's say you go to an automotive junkyard, okay, and you're walking around, if you can suddenly be a little bit more sensitive to the sounds maybe of the birds in the trees, or you're sensitive in that you're looking at these cars and you're thinking about, who owned them, and you're just sensitive overall to things, then it is that time during the most important part, which is great because we're gonna toast to sensitivity to this. Thank you.
I'm so sensitive.
Didn't he do a great? Did you see these photos?
Yeah, I did. You know what though? I couldn't tell that it was a crash test dummy.
Yeah, it's laying.
I couldn't. I didn't know what. I thought it was like a part of like a bumper or something.
We'll fix it in post.
Okay.
We'll fix it. We'll bring up the shadows. Okay. It definitely is a crash test dummy.
He did really well with that.
He did, and I tried to get him on video. He didn't want to be. Teenagers, they don't want to be on video, at least not on my channel. Okay, so get your drinks out. We're going to do a toast, okay? And what are we toasting to tonight? I think you know. We're going to be toasting to this because, and I don't mean, being all I'm sensitive. I'm not talking about that, okay? Come on, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about having a perception, reflection, is so important, and being able to do that, because if you're guided by a sensitivity to things, you will just suddenly suss out patterns. You'll see a piece of mold, you'll kind of just notice that, right? And it is, musicians have that too. And you can just have an ability, and if you don't have an ability, if you're born not sensitive to anything, if you're, let's say you're tough, you're not sensitive to anything, you can learn. And it doesn't mean being all soft and whatever. It means more aware, not self-aware necessarily, although that would help, but aware of the world. The world, put down the phone and be aware of the world a little bit. And once you have that, or once you start improving that, then you can start to tell a story. Then you can start to use these techniques, of which I only gave you a few, because you each have your own, right? You have your own. So don't, use, if you don't know any, use these that I just gave you, but certainly you could contribute many more. Throw them in the comments. Maybe we can all learn. I know we can all learn. You get what I'm laying down here. And this was so eye-opening to me, because when I looked at my photo, let me go back to that. Where was that photo? It just bothered me. Okay, when I looked at this, whoops, that's not it. Where is it here? I don't even know if I'm going to find it. Let's see. Oh, dull. I labeled it in this stream software. I labeled it dull window, which is how I feel about it. Dull window. That's dull to me. It's not a bad shot, okay? I mean, and it's not even edited. I could make it better. But again, I see this as dull. I see this as a photographer going, look at what I can do. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I'm sure it's fine. Okay. I mean, it's not a bad shot, but I think that, when you do something like this, and again, this shot needs a lot of work, okay, from an exposure standpoint and all of that, but maybe somewhere between the two. And so that is, if you get one thing I'm laying down, and that is you really need to be sensitive and tell a story. And those are, I think, absolutely drop dead critical to be a good photographer. And so I wanted to talk about this today, because I usually talk about gear, right? Do I not talk about, in fact, I opened the whole stream talking about gear. And I'm going to continue talking about gear. You know why? Do you know why I talk about gear? For one reason only. Yes, I'm getting a puppet out. I'm 56 years old. It's all about the gear. It's all about the gear, right, Gear Iguana? It is all about, no, it's not. But it can be a little bit about the gear if you've got some of these fundamentals first. Okay, enough talking. Raise your glass. You should have one by now. Your bottle of water, your Diet Coke. Well, don't drink Diet Coke. I heard it's not good for you anymore. But whatever you're drinking, hopefully a beer or something. Here's to photography. Here's to being creative. And here's to telling stories and pulling that extra sensitivity out on your next photo shoot. Go tell a story. Cheers, everyone. Very nice. Didn't want to do beer tonight. Didn't want to do beer. This is a wine kind of thing, right? So, okay, that's it. We're at 5:45. Well, see you later. No, I'm going to do Q&A now, connect with some of you, and then I'm going to drop off. I'll extend this till 6 o'clock, okay? All right, let me go. Whoa, we got a lot of comments here. So we are at 146 concurrent viewers, which is great. I love having all these people here. And looks like, yeah, learning how to use, here we go. Yes, and Michelle absolutely says learning how to use a camera is easy. Having an eye for good composition comes from nature. Yeah, and practice and just doing it. You know, there's a lot to be said for just doing it, right? Just doing it. Get out there and do it. Oh, whoa, I got a gear recommendation from Natalie, who says, buy him an XT1. What, are you kidding me? He's used an XT5. There's no way he's going back to it. That's going to be a tough sell. I might, though. I might. And an 18 to 55, okay, and see what he creates. Yeah, I mean, and someone asked me this on the stream. That's a good comment. And somebody asked me this on the stream a while back. What camera setup would you give, you know, a teenager or a young kid who wants to learn photography? And my answer is anything that has dials on the top where you are physically having to manipulate the exposure triangle. That would be what I would give them. So yeah, XT1 I think solves that. All right. Let's see. We got, yes, Rick, it is Old Car City. I'm jumping back and forth. I'm going way back to comments from very early on. But were you surprised? I mean, think about it. He's 13 years old. And this was his first photo shoot. He had literally no direction. He was using a kit lens on a camera he had never used before, on a system he had never shot with. And a lot of you, in fact, a huge amount of you said pro, advanced, and intermediate, okay? That tells me that even experience, you know, in terms of adding up the days of experience, you know, they say you need 10,000 hours to be an expert at something. I don't know about that. I don't know if that's true. I mean, maybe it is. Maybe 10,000 hours will brute force expertise in something. But maybe 100 hours, if you're tuned in and sensitive to what you're doing and you're there, you're in the zone, maybe that would do it. I don't know. What do you think? All right. We have, how do you define beginner? Good point. How do you define a beginner? Someone that has no clue. I would define a beginner as if you said, what is ISO? They would go, bzzz. Actually, I know a lot of pros that would do that. I can't do that one. But you know what I'm saying? Like, they wouldn't know exposure triangle. I need another glass, not a glass. I do need another glass of wine, but another sip. Okay. All right. Yeah, I think we had something flashed on my screen. It's like, Inscrutable Owl. Thank you so much, man. Practice is the key. Yes. Because all the sensitivity in the world isn't going to cut it if you don't practice, if you don't build up your chops, and there, as much as first of all, take this all with a grain of salt. I mean, he's my son. I mean, what am I going to say? These all suck. But I'll be honest with you, I can find an equal amount of problems with these photos with regard to exposure, color balance, and so forth. But I think some of the fundamentals are there. And for those of you newer photographers, I hope that if a 13-year-old picking up a camera, as a very, very, very beginner on first photo shoot can see and crouch down and hold the camera up high, what's your excuse, right? What's your excuse? So, okay. Hey, Ragnar, good to see you, pal. Good to see you. Oh, wow. So Natalie says, when my daughter started photography, I got her an EOS 100D. She still has it today, some 10 years later. Very, very cool. I love that. I love that. Oh, man, I wish I had my dad's camera. I think about it all the time. It was an old manual Yashica. Wouldn't mean anything to anybody. It got stolen out of my apartment. But yeah, if I could have had any camera around, I would do it. Oh, the good doctor says, open your mind and eyes, then practice. Absolutely. Open the mind and eyes, become more sensitive, practice, tell a story. Very good. Absolutely. Thanks, Doc. Very good. And I don't know the answer to that. What vintage is the wine? I would say no more than a couple of years old. Usually wine that's consumed around here has started somewhere in either Kroger, probably Kroger. Yeah, Kroger. So I don't think it's, I think anything earlier than 2018 would be pushing it. Hun, if you're watching the live stream, can you comment on what the vintage of this wine is? Because as I don't know, I just know it tastes good. Right? Okay. There's a great scene. I don't know if you saw it. There's a great scene in that movie where they go to Napa Valley. Oh, Paul Giamatti's, I can't remember the name of it right now. Sideways. And they're at a winery. And it's two very different types of people. And, you go to a winery, they put just a little bit in the glass. You're supposed to swirl it around. So one guy, is doing the whole bit, right? And he's a wine connoisseur. And the other guy, and you could apply this to photography too. And the other guy is kind of like, when do we drink it? It's like, when do we just get out and take the photos? Or when do we reflect, perceive, and think about the story? You blend them together. Okay, that's my last metaphor. I'm not doing any more metaphors on this live stream. Okay. Let's see. AFS or AFC for a wedding video? AFC. Yeah. Now, okay. You can't ask, and thank you for asking that question, but you can't just go, I'm going to plop my camera in AFC. Da-da! You can't do that because you must go into your settings, right? And I can't go into the whole thing now, but go into your manual focus, autofocus, okay, AFMF on the camera. If you're going to be shooting video, very, very important, go into AFC, custom settings, and I would play with those, okay? If it's video, let me just tell you, I'll just give you something, okay, to go with for now. If you want to be sure that if you're running around at a wedding and you're needing coverage, get that groom immediately. Don't screw up that shot. You've only got, I would never, weddings terrify me. But if you're doing that and you absolutely need the camera to quickly focus, not miss shots, I would put tracking sensitivity to 0 and AF speed to 5. Okay. And that's how I would do it. But if you also have some time, you could do things, and this is where a gimbal actually comes in handy, where you have an object here. You want to put an object in the foreground. You have your couple kind of in the background, and you kind of go like that. And the camera pulls focus from the foreground, say it's a candle on a table or whatever, to the couple in the background. Then you're going to want to set this autofocus speed to like -2, lower it down. My point, ladies and gents, is that these settings right here, I don't know if you can see it. Can we get close up? No, it's as good as I can go. So these settings are critical for video. And they're important for stills, but they're critical for video. Okay? Hope that helps in the limited time I have here. Wait a minute here. Wow. Mr. Jarble? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Jarble. Mr. Jarble, Okay, Paul, Austin, Texas. Yes, join our Discord. Oh, yes, we have a great time on Discord. I love it. It is the Pal2Tech Backstage Discord server for me is like a gas station. I said I wasn't going to do any more metaphors. Then I went and I did a metaphor. It's like a gas station, and I go to the Discord server to fill up with inspiration and camaraderie. Did I say that right? Yeah. And happiness and other creatives. And so it's awesome. And he, absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Jarble. Be sure to watch the segment in the upcoming video where I do the gimbal balancing. I do mention your name and that I am doing it for you and the backstage folks. So yeah, video coming out maybe Sunday on this bad boy here. And I actually did a first for the channel where I repeated the same thing in the video twice. So I first balanced it, okay, showing you the correct way to do it. Axis, all the tilt, roll, all that kind of stuff, right? So we went through the whole thing. I mean, a rhesus monkey could watch that video and you could hand the monkey, the gimbal, and they would be able to balance an XT5 after it. I mean, I go slow and I go through everything. But then at the end of the video, and I figured it's good to put it at the end when everybody's kind of dropped off. At the end of the video, I then say, you know what? I'm going to do it again. And this time I'm just going to pretend that I'm not doing it for you and it's just me and I'm going out shooting. And I'm like, to show you that it's not a hassle and that if you have a gimbal between 1 to 2 weeks, say, if you're new to gimbals, that you can really get this down. There's nothing to be afraid of, especially this gimbal. This is a good one. And I'm going to mention this because I didn't mention it in the video. The video is already way too long. I want to mention this here. Zhuan, and I know I'm mispronouncing it. Sorry, I'm just going to say it. Zhuan, okay, the company that makes the Weeble 3S. I have never seen a third-party company be so patient with me, because I had this thing for over a month. I think I had it almost 2 months. And I found all kinds of things that I had questions on with regard to connection to Fujifilm cameras. Do you remember that app video I did where it was like every single nook and cranny? Same thing. And so I was constantly contacting them. I don't understand. Your website says that you can control ISO, right? On the gimbal, using this little dial, you can control your ISO. Yay! But it doesn't move on the screen. Why? And so they didn't know, and they're sending me homemade videos of how to do the settings. They were so patient. And then I figured out you have to do it. You have to first have the camera in movie optimized mode. So there's all kinds of weird little quirks that as I was doing the review, I found, and so the video changed from a review to a full-blown, let's just make it a mix of everything. And they were so patient. So Zhuan, if you're watching, thank you. And the reason I'm telling you this is because keep that in mind when watching a review. If I tell you in the beginning of the video that I've had, or if I tell you on a live stream that I've had a really good relationship with a vendor, that they're incredibly professional, incredibly courteous, incredibly nice, right? Of course, that is going to factor into my review. There is no way I could say I'm completely independent. I mean, come on, 2 companies, 2 products, both work equally well. One company treats me like dirt and is rude and disrespectful. And yeah, that has happened and continues to happen a lot. And another company is incredibly courteous and helpful. And, when I go to shoot the video, there's no way. It is impossible. I'm a human being. So keep that in mind when watching the review. It's a great gimbal. Okay, I'm just going to say that. Okay, but keep that in mind because it does. I mean, any YouTuber that says they're completely independent, they're full of it. You can't be. You can't be, because even down to the relationship, even down to the email point of contact that you have with a vendor, whether it's Fujifilm, which I have a great relationship with, or Zhuan, or Anchor, or all of these other ones, Capture One that I've noticed that the ones that are kind of pissy Annie, I just drop off. And I don't even bother. So yeah, Just keep that in mind because it does affect reviews, if I'm being totally honest with myself. Okay, we're going to be signing off. I want to take another look. Oh my goodness. We got some new super chats. Oh wow. All right, let me make sure I've got this done here. Michael, thank you. Happy Fast and Furious Friday. I have never seen a single Fast and Furious. Should I? It was never on my radar. So yeah, happy Fast and Furious Friday. Thank you so much, sir, for the super chat. Let's do movie trivia before I sign off here. Okay, so what is this? What is this right? Oops, hold on. What is this right here? It's a little book with, it looks like a hammer or a pickaxe carved into it. What movie is that? Put your answers down below. And the winner of that will get this lens right here. Joke. You see, there's someone in Fujifilm right now going, ah! Right? So, thank you so much, Michael, for the super chat. David, again, wow, thank you. Join our Discord and share your photos. Yes, yes, yes. Do I have and thank you, David. I really appreciate it. Do I have any kind of ad? I'm so bad at promotion. I suck at promotion. I don't talk about anything with Discord and Backstage. I should, because it's cool. All right, so here's a screenshot of Discord, kind of the setup. On the left side, you've got all the topics. It's like, people, it's a chat area. People connect and message and post photos and post videos, and I'll rant about the studio, and you'll really find out what's going on backstage. So that's what that is. To join up Discord, to join Backstage, go to, hold on, I'm getting better at this promotion thing. I created that. Okay. paldetech.com/backstage. Okay. So that's that. All right. So thank you. David, thank you very much. I don't want to miss anybody. Scott, wow, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Where are you from, man? Put it in there. You probably told me. I'm sorry if I forgot. And I'm not going to talk about how little sleep I've gotten because that topic is dead and buried. I'm not talking about that anymore. But it ain't much. All right, so Shawshank Redemption is the correct answer to the movie trivia. So any of you that got it, good job. Well done. It's funny because I watched it with my son, and it's funny because he is noticing some of the actors in older classic movies are now in modern video games. And it's interesting, and they're in there and you can see them and they look identical. So he absolutely loved it. I mean, he loved Morgan Freeman. I mean, above all of the actors, he thought more. And he said, Morgan Freeman, he just looks the same in every movie. He doesn't age. It's true. Morgan looks pretty much the same in every movie he's in. So that was awesome. Okay, so we got a correct answer for that. Let me just see if there's any other final items we need to go through. I think we're good, though. Sharp, boy, we're still talking about lenses here. You all nailed it. That's really, really, really good. Okay, so greetings to Romania. Hello, Romania. Hello, hello, hello. All right, so we got a lot of movie buffs here. So that is awesome. I'm going to have to give you a harder one, Okay. Yeah, I'll be surprised. All right, you want to play that way, huh? All right, see if you can figure this one out. This is a hard one. Okay, can you see it? It's like a little cut up paper kind of figure. You see that? It's in the shape of like a unicorn, okay? A little folded paper thing. I'll be very impressed if you get this one. I got it. But I'm a freak. So yeah, I'm a movie freak. All right, I'm looking at, oh jeez, come on, really? Blade Runner. I can't do this thing. I mean, you're gonna get all of it. All right. Okay, so I know you know it. You all got it right. Okay, everyone. So this has been an awesome live stream. Going back to this has been an awesome live stream. Thank you for joining me and being a part of the channel. And yeah, look forward to showing you the new video. I have quite a journey ahead of me. It may not even be Sunday. I'm hoping it'll be Sunday. But new video coming next week. Probably one video Friday for sure. And I may squeeze in what I'm now, and I told this to Backstage already, kind of these under 5-minute quick reviews. And they're of products that aren't, like an XS20 camera. They might be an SD card hub or something that, do you really need like a 20-minute deep dive video on? So I want to kind of crank out a few of those 5 minutes. That'll make YouTube happy. I will never do shorts, so you don't have to worry about that. But these will kind of help me a little bit keep that momentum going on the channel. Don't forget, and also what helps the channel, to give it the like and subscribe, of course. And as always, thank you for, I need my wine. As always, thank you for joining me tonight on this electronic campfire. It is great to see you. Get out there, tell your story, take some photos, be sensitive to where you're shooting, and let me know what you shot, especially those of you on Backstage. I want to see your photos. All right, everyone, take care and have a wonderful weekend. See you soon.